Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we will be fixing this computer from Samsung. It is an RC420 that has a bad keyboard. So the first thing to do is kind of show you guys a problem. So the first thing is the keys are broken, some of them, and there is rust in between some of the keys, which basically makes half of the whole keyboard useless. So with that said, we can now close up the computer and start working. Turning it around, we can now start unscrewing the whole thing after taking the battery out. The good thing about older computers, just in this case a 2011 computer, is that most of it is compartmental, which means that it is easy to fix, easy to retrieve. Well, easy to fix, we'll see about that. Taking this single screw and then this whole part out, we're able to see the RAM. It is originally coming with only 4 gigabytes of RAM and the 500 gigabytes hard drive. This basically means it is easy to replace and easy to upgrade in the case that it is needed, which is something that some computers are lacking today. We can continue with a time lapse of me taking out the screws. After taking off the screws, we can use a spudger, or in my case, a hotel key from the Marriott hotel I stayed a while back, to pry off the cap and get rid of the shell temporarily. With that said, just be careful not to damage the shell at all, or it will look bad. In the middle of the process, I realized that I had actually missed a screw, and that's why it wasn't opening. And after taking that one out, inside the computer, we can see that there is a lot of ribbon cables that are connecting to the speakers, to the keyboard, to the fans, and pretty much everything that a computer needs. So starting off disconnecting them and taking off some screws, we're able to slowly take out the motherboard, which is key to replace a keyboard. We need to take a few more things like that port over there for 2 USB sticks, and after doing so, we see these insulating plate that we can easily pry out. Checking out, that's where the whole ribbon cable would fit, and the keyboard itself would also fit. So we have to start by prying off this plate really carefully. If you damage it, it is technically necessary for this repair to keep it safe, because it allows for a friendlier user experience, as it won't short anything at all. That's why it was placed there in the first place. There are some things covering and being in the way of taking this sheet out, so be sure to not break them, or you would have to buy more replacements. Right here is the hardest part of this whole repair, which is basically prying out the whole keyboard and these little side plates that are made out of metal, and it makes it really difficult to actually take it out. It has these small brackets that are unable to be taken out without breaking them, which basically means that this wasn't being intended to be repaired in the first place, but we will find a way to keep it safe and flush. After a bit more of prying, I realized that I could also use a soldering iron to make this job way easier, as you will see very soon in this time lapse. And after doing that, I was able to melt these little caps, brackets, whatever you would like to call them, and make it way easier for me to actually remove them. In my case, I wasn't worried of actually damaging this keyboard as I was already going to replace it, but this was definitely not suggested if you're actually trying to reuse this keyboard by any means or for anything. So just do it at your own risk with the possibility of damaging it. In my case, I didn't care. After 45 minutes or so of rustling with this, I was able to pry it out, and it was rather bent. That's why I kind of unbent it right there. And I could just put it wherever it would be. And after noticing that I had actually bent these plates a little bit more, I would just kind of have to bend them back when I was going to put them back in. And there was a lot of hair and a lot of gunk in the keyboard, which was easily blown away with a little bit of my own breath, which I promptly did as I don't have canned air. And then I would just have to put the sheath of insulating paper back in there, and since it had lost its glue, its sticky substance to keep it in place, I used some tape to put it back in there. It doesn't have to be perfect to be functional. Now it is time to organize back the things that I had taken apart in order to do this fix. This included the speaker assembly, which I also gave it a little clean so it sounds better. The actual motherboard, which after inserting the ribbon cables in a very, very careful way, I was able to be able to test it out. After this time lapse, we'll see what the result of the original repair went like. There was an issue with the actual keyboard not having the actual spots to put some of the screws in, so I had to improvise in the middle of the repair, but it ended up working fine. It's not suggested if you're doing this professionally or if you're doing this for your own computer, but this is a computer that I am actually going to keep just to use it every once in a while, and it worked. But just make sure that whatever you're going to do will work in the long run. I can easily just open it back up and fix it if that's the case. Originally, I felt the keys were a little bit bad. They didn't feel good, or at least as good as the original keyboard, but I decided to test out to see if it actually worked. So I connected it over to the charger since it had no battery, and I would put it to load. I heard a clicking sound, and I was a little bit scared that I had damaged the hard drive, but in reality, it was just that I had connected it incorrectly. So I ran Windows, and the cursor was not working. With that said, I had to disconnect it and make sure that I had connected the ribbon cable for the mouse correctly. After fighting for a long time with the mouse and making sure that it wouldn't come out, as a small part that would actually make it fit in correctly actually fell off during the repair, I was able to actually make it work, or at least I thought so, so I would have to test it out. Putting it back together in a way that it would once again turn on, I went over to check it out. Turning over the computer, I was able to turn it on with a charger, and as the loading screen started, I was able to move my mouse and use it correctly. So the repair was completely going well. Off camera, I went and applied some filament, and using my soldering iron, I would spread it and recreate the bracket, which allowed it so with a little bit more of strength, you could push down the keys without damaging the computer. And with that said, putting back the screws in, it was a complete success. The computer now works, and even though it has some minor damages, including some dead pixels on the screen, it is now completely working. And hey guys, thank you for watching this video, and I hope it helped you guys on something, and have a great day or night.